Well, I fully told you guys to expect the unexpected when it came to the 2026 NFL draft, when it came to the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles' picks. But Ryan Poles didn't just make picks. He made a statement. He may have gotten the Bears center of the future to double down on the physical football, but also drafting a wide receiver and a tight end. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And we got to talk about the Ryan Poles' picks on day two. Not only do we see a trade down and things like that, that's neither here nor there really in the grand scheme of things, but Ryan Poles made a statement today, and I don't know what kind of statement it is to expect the unexpected, but Ryan Poles, with the first pick in the second round that we had, right, after trading back, decided to trade for or draft Logan Jones, right? And this is the center out of Iowa, somebody that many people had as the number one center on the board. Now, this is a great center who over 700 offensive snaps, allowed no pressures and no snaps in those possessions. And so I'm not going to be as harsh on this pick as maybe some other people will, because I do look at the center. You need your center of the future. That's, to me, like, you have now Logan Jones, who I think is absolutely going to be the center of the future for the Chicago Bears. He pairs with Darnell Wright and Audrey Trapillo as the long-term pieces on this offensive line. Not to say that, Jonah Jackson may not be here and Joe Thuney may not be here for a couple of seasons after this one, but those are your young guys now that are going to be coming up for this team. Logan Jones just has such a good history when you look at what he's been able to do and achieve over his college career, like a Rimington Award winner, which is really good when it comes down to that one. And he's immediate competition as well as the long-term plan now at the center position. And it just goes to show that Ryan Poles came into this one and looked at the absence of Drew Dalman, and now he brought in a guy like this. And so you look at Garrett Bradbury, who, the Bears traded for and may start. Even if he does not start, it ends up being a depth piece. It's a veteran when it comes down to it. But I think that with this pick, I'm not going to knock him for this pick, even with the expectations that we should have gone defensive line, just because of how good Logan Jones is and how he projects to be an important role in the future. The center is the only player to touch the ball on every single offensive possession. And the fact that he allowed zero pressures, no sacks, and he played at Iowa on top of that, you just have to look at this guy, and I can understand the allure there. So that was the first pick there. At pick number 57 for the Chicago Bears in round two, and it was one that, again, I'm not going to knock. 6'3", 302 pounds, bringing in that center. I'm not mad at this one at all. But then that's where things started going a little different than expected for the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears then draft Sam Roush with the 69th overall pick in the third round. This is actually the pick we trade back to get. And 6'5", 260 pounds, like as a tight end, and we understand how important the 12 and maybe even some 13 personnel is going to be potentially for Ben Johnson. But this is the pick that maybe puts a question on what's going to be the long-term future for Cole Kmet with this team. And while, we'll talk about the fact that the Bears did not go defensive line at all yet in this draft, look at what he did over the course of his collegiate career. Over 4 years, only 3 of those really being, he had only 2 receptions as a freshman, but the 3 years that he did play, 1,201 yards, an average of 10 yards per reception there, 4 touchdowns over that time period as well. And he's also a really good blocker on top of that. This is the Bears future-proofing exactly how they like to play, what Ben Johnson's system is, and it's taking all those things into consideration. And therefore, I understand the pick. But again, understanding and agreeance are two very different things. This seems like a luxury pick. Now, unless the Bears are going to trade Cole Kmet soon, or this is just them looking at the situation saying, listen, there's no way we're going to be able to keep Cole and pay him what he gets. We're probably going to move him. And now we have a guy that's going to be ready to replace that. Still pair with Colston Loveland. I still look at this and say, with the Bears, Colston's probably going to line up as a slot a lot of times too. So now you also have another guy that you can put out there in tight end when Colston Loveland is there in the X or in the slot position, which is really good. And so schematically, I understand it. But just to forego the defensive line is going to bring about so many questions with the Chicago Bears, and we'll talk about why here towards the end of that one. But the fit in Ben Johnson's offense is undeniable. You cannot deny the fit that this guy's going to have in Ben Johnson, pairing with Colston Loveland. The fit's there. The blocking tight end identity that he has is there. He's a really good blocking tight end with the ability to still catch passes, which is really good. All those things is good. This is not a bad pick in a vacuum. If you just look at us getting this player in round 3 and what he projects to be under this system, it's not a bad pick in that vacuum. But when you look at the greater needs for the Chicago Bears, that's what really starts bringing more questions, right? And that's what you have to look at it. So while the Bears' offensive identity is continue taking shape, right? Run first tendencies, physical football, supporting Caleb Williams. That's what the Logan Jones and Sam Roush picks do for the Chicago Bears. They help support Caleb in a season where you're hoping Caleb makes another step or a leap and really becomes one of the even more elite quarterbacks in this league. And that's what you're hoping. And that's what these two picks help do now and in the future. But then you get Zayvion Thomas as your third pick on the day, pick 89 for the Chicago Bears. You get that 5'10", 192 pounds. And while this guy has tons of potential, like I said, in a vacuum, these picks aren't bad picks as far as the players. But it leaves huge questions for what the actual needs are for the Chicago Bears. So this guy played 2 seasons at LSU, his last 2 seasons in collegiate football. Overall, through 4 years, he had 106 receptions, 1,213 yards, an average of 11 yards per reception there, and 7 touchdowns over that time period as well. This is also a guy that's been used in the run game. He had 40 carries for 198 yards and 1 touchdown over his collegiate career also. So this is a guy that when you look at a gadget player, an ability to do a lot of different things, Zayvion Thomas brings a lot of that for the Chicago Bears team. There's no doubt about that. The gadget potential that he has there is amazing. The return ability as well, to be a return man, is really good there, right? So there's definitely potential in Zayvion Thomas, and I'm not going to say that this is necessarily a bad pickup either, but it does bring the questions, which brings us to the last part here of the draft strategy, right? So not really building the trenches outside of getting the center position, right? The long-term vision of leaving the defensive line. Now, for what it's worth, there's still some players that are left on the board here that can absolutely help the Chicago Bears. You look, for example, at Grayson Halton, the defensive tackle out of Oklahoma, still on the board, still a player that can be drafted in this draft. You flip that and look at the edge, LT Overton, a guy that we scouted, still in this draft, so you still can add another edge. But looking at this, what this says to me is that Ryan Poles must have some big belief in Austin Booker and Shamar Turner. It just has to be that. Now, we heard early in the offseason, Ryan Poles talk about Shamar Turner and basically said that, he put him in there in the same breath as Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, saying that the impact that he can make in year 2. And you better hope that that's going to be real in that one, right? And then with Austin Booker having 4.5 sacks last year, maybe the hope is that if we bring in some more depth at the edge, Austin Booker is going to continue that path that he looked like he was going to be on to make a huge leap this season. And maybe you have that. But overall, the draft strategy is still one that's there, right? So the fan reaction versus the reality of this, right? I think in conclusion, you have to look at this and say, again, in a vacuum, just looking at these picks, these are not bad players to pick, and they all fit a different need for the Chicago Bears. But the problem is that the Bears' biggest needs have yet to be addressed at all, and that is the pass rush, and that is the run defense. And that has left a big thing. Now, the Bears are probably hoping that fans are going to trust the process. And I'll say this, let's see what the Bears do at the draft being done and see what everything looks like when it's all said and done. But there's still some major questions on what this then looks like for the Chicago Bears long term. And, you can only ask for patience so much. And the fact that something so big of glaring needs have gone completely unaddressed by the Chicago Bears fans are right to have some questions on what the hell are the Bears going to do about one of our biggest needs and one of the biggest holes on our defense, and that is our inability to get to the quarterback. So, Ryan Poles may have a trick up his sleeve. Maybe something happens on day 3 of the NFL draft that we don't foresee, that we didn't expect, and it brings more clarity. But as it stands all right now, there's tons that we just don't understand. There are tons that's left on the table for the Chicago Bears, and it just brings about a lot of questions on what the future is going to look like for this team. Like I said, going to practice some patience myself in regards to it, but I can't blame any of you guys for having questions. So it puts the onus back on Ryan Poles once again to show, hey, are these guys going to be right for the Chicago Bears? And they better be, because you forego needs for things that now look like, fit is cool, but I guess we'll just wait and see. But let me know what you guys think on it all down below, man. It's an interesting one, but we still got day 3 to get through to the NFL draft, but day 3 to get to. Day 2 left us with a lot to think about, but the draft is about identity, and we'll see how this team wants to play and what they do. So the question I have to you in this one, do you feel the Bears cooked on day 2, or are you questioning the direction that this team is going with their picks? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow us at Chi Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.